Welcome back to Champion News Talk Radio. This is Carol Parisi. Our founder Jack Roser and I today are speaking with Israel Ortega and Deb Gordils. And we are speaking to our Hispanic population and actual conservative issues and what is going on. Now, we were talking during the break about the new immigrants versus the old immigrants. Right. And Israel, you being an immigrant, and I myself am a child of an immigrant. My mom came off a boat from Italy, and I see a dichotomy. Yeah. And could we talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think, it's interesting because I think, as you were saying in the break, it's a lot easier now for new immigrants not to assimilate. And I think it was a lot more difficult for old immigrants, or it was more expected to them that they needed to assimilate, learn the language. And now, with the emergence of Spanish media, where you can get information in Spanish, you go to some places in this country like Miami, for instance, and you don't really have to learn English. I mean, everything, you can get away with speaking in Spanish. And I think it's a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, it's neat, you're preserving the language, but at the same time, it's closing opportunities for you to get ahead in this country.
I think maintaining culture and maintaining one's intrinsic culture for their own heritage is so important. As I said, my mom was born in Italy, came here, and did not speak the language. So I don't know the Italian language, which is beautiful, and it's always valuable to know another language. But my mom came here at 3, and she spoke like you and I did. And now you came here. How old were you when
I was 5. I was 5 when I came to this country, so I didn't know any English.
There shouldn't be any real mystery to this thing. You love your family, you love your background when you come from. Take a look at Mexico. My God, what a wonderful, beautiful place, a wonderful climate. They got all of the oil in the world, gold, silver, fish all around you. I mean, it's heaven on earth. The Spanish from the old country came there and said, holy Moses, look how rich this is. Costa Rica, another part of a name down there.
Coast.
That's a wonderful place. Why isn't it great? It's because you got some stinking politicians down there. They're more like criminals.
Right.
And so they ruin life for the ordinary person that's come up here to find a good life.
Exactly.
And really, they should be proud of their Mexican heritage. Speak Spanish at home, but you got to learn English to get a job.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to be mowing lawns forever.
Exactly.
All you speak is Spanish.
But do you?
If you get in a manufacturing company, I have one. We do manufacturing in the United States, believe it or not, and we got. I've got about 200 Spanish-speaking people working for me, but they also speak English, and we teach it to them on the job.
That's what you're doing
with
now.
Expert teachers. Because why? You cannot be a quality manufacturer if people can't communicate.
That's right.
It's obvious. If you're going to sell or build, you got to speak English. It's the lingua franca of the whole world. I mean, the Chinese are learning English, and it's silly. For people to come from Mexico or other places and get trapped by the stinking politicians in a big city and who treat them like they're chattels and we will take care of you.
Yeah.
Baloney.
Yeah.
All they're going to do is try to get votes out of you, whether you're a legal citizen or not. They got to take pride in their family and strike out, learn English, and get assimilated into the good job world.
Yeah.
Get out from behind the lawnmower.
That's right.
Now, Deb, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that Jack brought up an interesting point about how beautiful that nation is, and the fact that it shares our same
Judeo-Christian values?
Well, our Christian values, our religion. They're pro-lifers. I think the Heritage Foundation, Libertad.org, came out with a statistic. They were 57% pro-lifers compared to non-Hispanics, who were 42% in this nation.
Yeah, that's
they're strong conservatives, maybe even more conservatives than what we're finding here in this country. So we need to capitalize on that. We need to bring that in, and that's one of the reasons why when I was out in Washington, D.C., and I had the good fortune of having Jack send me out there, I went directly to the Heritage Foundation to meet with Israel Ortega, find out more about libertad.org and find out how we here in Illinois could work with them to share their message through their whole agency. I mean, the Heritage Foundation is a wonderful organization, strong conservatives, and I thought, what better message can we bring to Illinois than through this foundation to share the message for Hispanics here in Chicago and here in Illinois that can see that we have so much to share in common, and that maybe that needs to equate to voting for politicians or candidates who in fact are going to support that value system that they have.
There's a revolution going on in Chicago, and Deb here is the smart one that found a need in Chicago. Chicago is in a state of flux. The politics is changing. The old mayor that ran up all the debt and tore up the runway and was a very foolish man. And he's left a big gap there of doing sensible things. People are waking up to the fact that there's a rapidly growing population of Spanish people, and Chicago is one of the greatest places in the whole world. It was until the crooked politicians diminished it, but we got a lot of Spanish people coming in there that bring the best of morals and a lot of intelligence and decency, and they are a big part of Chicago in the state of Illinois.
Diminishing is the great adjective.
And you're smart. You saw the changing world, and you opened up a little office, and you got a hold of me to pay a little bit of rent, and you spread your wings, and a lot of other organizations have joined you.
You guys are doing good work.
Without a by your leave or anything else, you dug in. You're an entrepreneur in decent politics.
Israel, do you feel that maybe the new immigrants that are coming do not understand what American exceptionalism is and that freedom? Because I'm hearing from you, Deb, that intrinsically immigrants from Mexico are staunchly conservative, but the statistics are not showing that they're voting that way. So where's the disconnect?
Yeah, well, I think I was going to mention, Ronald Reagan was the one who said, Hispanics are conservatives, they just don't know it. So I think that there's something there, and I think Deb is right. I think part of the problem is that it's just lack of understanding, like about our founding fathers, about the ideas that make this country different. As I said in the earlier segment, the fact that, we created a country where, a Republican with a small r, Republican democracy, where people, could elect people to represent them in office, and then when the government was not working for the people, we could take them out. These are revolutionary things that, concepts that made this country what it is, and I think Hispanics just don't have an understanding and appreciation of those things, and I think part of the challenge, I think, to match up the what Deb was talking about, how intrinsically maybe those values are there, but to transit into the voting box, the voting booth, is going to be understanding and getting educated on the issues.
Yeah, the information, and that's really what our project is all about. It's striving to get the information from the Heritage Foundation out in D.C. to Illinois Hispanics, and so this goes back to what I said earlier in the show, is that we as Americans need to do a better job of defining who we are and what's available, so that when they come onto our soil, whether they're flying here, taking a boat here, walking here, whatever it is that they're doing, once they get here and they look up to look at everything that's available, they look at the Republican image or the conservative image.
But they get to Chicago,
that is,
and you go and you want a job, and a ward healer or whoever who pretends to be running your life, and you go and see him, and he says, "We don't want nobody sent." He's using bad English on people that are trying to get a foothold here. And who the hell told him that he's in charge of who gets a job and where the public money gets spent? And if you don't vote Democrat in Chicago, you aren't going to get a job. We don't want nobody sent.
But
that stinks.
That kind of politics in Chicago works great with immigrants. Remember, they come from nations where they're used to being oppressed and not have choices. And so they're just happy, well, we have plenty of food. We don't have a choice to vote how we want. We don't have a choice to get involved in the political process. We don't have a choice to make decisions, but
they don't have a choice to get a good job either.
Yeah, we're safe. We have food. Our families together. So the immigrant is in the mindset that's perfect for Chicago politics to take advantage of.
Well, I guess my question is, how do we do better? And how do we get a consistent message to the entire population, but specifically today to the Hispanic population of Constitution, limited government.
Yeah. One of the things we're doing, for instance, is Hispanics tend to be on social media a lot more than the general population. So one of the things we're doing at the Heritage Foundation with the site is being on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, and so we're making videos, about the concepts we're talking right now about, and that's how we're getting the message out there. And I think as people start, seeing that and being educated, you're going to start seeing that. Hopefully, that's my optimism.
Let's talk a little bit more about that when we come back after the break. I think that'll be great for our listeners to hear.